Am I live? Yeah. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our live studio in Felix Meritis in Amsterdam. This coming 50 minutes, we will talk about digital fashion. What is digital fashion? Is it an alien online? Is it an alter ego? Is it design? Is it like moving images? Is it like, what is it? It's a very, I already know that it's a very a big field, which a lot of things are happening. We're talking about social media, we're talking about filters, but also we're talking about, of course, the tactile. Let me call it the analog. So we have the analog and the digital. And also what we're going to talk about in these coming 50 minutes is how do they relate to each other? Well, I will talk about these subjects with our four beautiful guests, like beautiful. I'm a little bit in love with Joris, but I love you all too as well. I want to just ask you by beginning to introduce yourself. Joris Suk from fashion house Maison the Faux. Please, who are you and what is Maison the Faux about?
Oh, you took all my stuff away already? So I'm Joris, one of the two headed entities of Maison the Faux.
That's very important to say, exactly, because Tessa de Boer is also here.
It's over there.
Yes, these are two people that are very important, I think, in the fashion field nowadays. Oh. What does Maison the Faux stand for?
Let's start at the beginning. We both studied at Artes in Arnhem. We did fashion, graduated together. Right after graduating, we started the house Maison the Faux. I think we both have a very big love for fashion, but we also have a problem sometimes understanding the industry itself. So Maison the Faux is questioning, asking questions. We play a lot with reality and fake, so what's real, what's fake. We started out making collections, and I think at this point in time, we're exploring the gray areas of fashion, where fashion goes beyond the garment itself.
Yes, because you actually stopped making collections, right?
We still make garments for different productions, for different projects that we're working on, but we don't give any selling value to a garment anymore. So I think that's already quite a different approach of what fashion could be or mean.
Yes, well, we will talk about that later. Of course, also this panel is about the digital fashion. And Tessa, this is also a realm you are there, basically.
Yeah.
Can you name an example of how Maison the Faux is being in this context of digital fashion?
Yeah, I think from the start, like when we just started Maison the Faux, we were already quite keen on focusing on the digital world. I think in our work, we talk a lot about, like what Joris says, reality and fantasy and all the gray areas in between. When is something real and what does real and reality mean versus when is something fake? When do you believe something? When you don't? When does something feel authentic? When doesn't it? So these gray areas between reality and the digital world is something that is very intertwined in our work. And I think also our work is a lot about identity and sort of what we both, I think, find very interesting about fashion is that it's about like creating a persona, an identity. And as soon as you start to talk about the digital world and social media and everything and these facades you can create, that's something we find very interesting. So that comes back in our work a lot.
Yes, okay. That's a great explanation.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, because I really think fashion is also telling stories, right? It's telling fairy tales.
Yeah.
Which are, sometimes we believe it's true, but actually they're not. And then it's a performance, and then who are you?
Yeah.
Right?
And that's so interesting about digital is that you can stretch borders in an easy way, and I think that's.
So you can basically be more
in
the digital realm,
right?
Yeah. Okay, we're going to see some examples of some of your projects a little bit later. But first, Suzanne Mulder, you're one of the founders of Studio PMS. First, one question. Studio PMS is derived from short for premenstrual syndrome.
Yes.
Right? What can you tell us? Okay, I'm just so curious. Please, why that name, and how does it relate to what you do?
Yes, of course. Logical question. First of all, I'm the founder together with Puk and Merle, so
Yes.
PMS, you kind of see the idea already. But we definitely are quite aware of the fact that it means premenstrual syndrome as well. And we're a digital fashion collective, and the digital world is quite, in the technical world, male-dominated world. And we think it's good to keep it a little bit humor in there and to actually confuse people a little bit so they remember our name. So we try to embrace the fact that people
Would
always
you call yourself a feminist collective studio?
Yeah, I think
Good.
we're quite feministic.
Fuck the patriarchy. So sorry. So how does that?
No, but there is more about it, because if you Google premenstrual syndrome, the definition of premenstrual syndrome is still a syndrome that medically seen is not really, they don't really know why we have premenstrual syndrome, but we know we have it. And that confusion gives us a lot of opportunities to use every medium that we think is suitable for our work as well.
Yes, because what do you, as a studio, if just apart from the PMS, which I would love to talk about more, but later. So what does your studio do?
Yeah, so we're a digital fashion design collective, and we try to make the fashion industry a bit more sustainable and innovative by digitalization. And we have two parts of the studio, the consultancy part, and with the consultancy part we help other people in the fashion industry and also outside of the fashion industry to integrate digitalization in their way of producing or to reduce their overproduction. And with the creative studio we try to do as much as possible with as many people as possible, so interdisciplinary collaborations are very important in there as well.
Yeah.
And we actually try to be ahead of all the new technological things that are going to happen in the fashion industry and actually try to motivate people by working with those techniques and show people that it can be really tactile.
Yeah.
And that you can bridge
Digital fashion can be tactile.
Yeah.
That's
we have,
like, oh my God, how?
Yeah, so I think we have to completely get rid of the idea that we have from tactility from the physical world, and we have to redefine the word tactility in the digital realm. So you should not
But what
try
would
to...
tactility mean in the digital world?
I think you should not try to actually get exactly the same feeling, but you can get other senses in there. So you can work with smell, and you can work with sound, and you can use all the other senses to actually still have the feeling of a fabric, the feeling that you know actually how something would touch if you see it in the real world.
Yeah, all
And
right.
in that way, bridge that gap between the digital and the physical.
Oh my God, that sounds so great. We will also see some examples of your work later, because I cannot wait. I'm really like, how the fuck does that work?
Yes.
Right? Marilou, I'm going to you also. Can you maybe introduce yourself for us?
My name is Marilou Berkulin. I'm a stylist. I'm a bit hesitant to really call myself that.
Yes,
but
you are. You're working for 10 years already in styling. Don't be modest.
No, not for 10 years in styling. No, not for 10 years.
Anyway,
I started as a designer.
Yeah.
I'm educated as a designer. And slowly moved towards the styling discipline. And 4 years ago, I founded a magazine called Monuments, which is showing the archives, the hidden archives of a group of Dutch designers, which were called the Dutch Wave. From when I started studying, I'm already slightly obsessed with this group, I can say, and I really wanted to do something with the creations that they made almost 20 years ago, and so I founded a magazine to
and in every issue you address one of these designers of the Dutch Wave, right? And I'm just saying Oscar Suleiman, for instance, Rosema Teunissen. Yes.
Well, I made 2 issues already. First one about Rosema Teunissen and the second one about Keuper van Bentham. And I'm currently working on the 3rd issue about Oscar Suleiman.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is, of course, quite maybe unique almost, that your magazine is only there in print.
Yeah, and it's a fashion magazine about old fashioned. So like Joris is saying, it's really interesting when you take the monetary value away from clothing. And that's what I also still find really interesting about what I can do with my magazine is I can make a fashion magazine, but I don't have to sell the reader anything. And I think that's a very interesting way of working on a fashion magazine. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a paper, it's a tactile magazine.
And why is that tactileness so important to you? I mean, how do you relate to the digital developments also in that sense?
Well, I decided to make a paper magazine because it's also my way of reacting to other paper fashion magazines that are slowly becoming this kind of. It's really interesting that fashion magazines nowadays, they try to serve everyone. They try to serve all different readers. But of course, my fashion magazine is super specific because it's about Dutch designers. Not a lot of people know what was happening or what they did. So I really wanted to use the form of a paper magazine to also show that and not make it digital. It almost felt like I would skip a very important part because paper can also, or a magazine can also make something very, like I said, tactile or very physical, you have it at home, you put it in the bookshelf. Yeah, you can save it. Yeah. It was very important for me to really do that.
Okay, great. We will talk also a little bit further with you, of course, later. But first, I'd like to go to Fleur. Last but not least, Fleur van Maarschalkerwaart. Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah. I'm an art director, designer, artist, and my background is in interactive multimedia. And then for the past 20 years already, I've been working in both advertising, fashion, digital design, etc., etc. So everything's coming together for me now, really, in this new era that we're in. One of the things I did is actually made all the gifts for this festival as well.
Yes.
And there's also now a filter where you can see all the recipients in your own living room. So if you go to my Instagram filter now, of Instagram.
Do you have an example of that?
Yeah, I have an example.
We're talking, of course, which I find very important is that Fleur also has a computer here. Yeah. And we're talking, of course, about digital fashion. So I thought, we all thought it was very important to also show some digital fashion because otherwise we're like, what am I talking about?
Exactly.
You know? Yeah. So please, can you show us some examples of what you did for the Dutch Fashion Foundation, and also maybe some other things that you find inspiring? Is there a connection, everyone, or not?
Sure.
This is also the thing, with digital. It's really nice.
Very much so. Very much so.
It's always fucking breaking.
There we are. Yeah. Okay. There we are, but there's somebody in front of it. So, but I know what I'm seeing.
So what are we seeing now?
We're seeing now the face filter of the. It's not a face filter because it's the other way around. So it's the filter that you can access through tomorrow through Dutch Fashion Foundation Instagram, and now through mine.
Yeah.
Just go there. You click on the filter option, and this displays in your own living room.
Oh my God.
So it's like a little fashion show at home.
Yeah. Okay, and this is, I like this actually, right? I don't really know what I think about this whole digital fashion, but this is quite nice. Does anybody have another comment about this? No, because I also want to ask you, Fleur, you're also a teacher at the Amsterdam Fashion Institute. You do fashion and branding, and you know a lot about what is going on in the digital fashion world, let's say. And I asked you also to name some examples or to show us some examples of projects that are going on, so that we get really a little bit into this vibe of this digital immersive experience. Can you want to show it?
I have a few examples. So let's start with this one that just happened very recently. I'm not sure when there's sound. But, this is, of course, Balenciaga, and this just happened last week. And it's a fashion show that didn't really happen because there's only one model. Actually, there were more models, but they mapped one model, Eliza, on every model. So
Eliza
the models,
right?
So that happened. That was a fashion show that looks really real. It almost looks surreal, but it's fake, deep fake in this instance. The one before was last year, and that was obviously when we had the coronavirus and you couldn't go to any show, period. I think it's a little bit fast, but they had a game. So you could go there and you would just walk in the game and then you would see the model. So here, just standing on the street, and little scripts would happen like this. And it was a game, but it wasn't super interactive. You could only like walk a little bit, just wait a little bit and then walk again. But still, you know, it felt like a game. And I think it's really, I mean, the whole visual world really fits Balenciaga, of course.
What is the relevance of this kind of this game? Like, and then you can walk in a game, and a collection presentation in a game, and then what?
I think it's more exploration of this type of media to see, you know, how this relates to a brand.
Yeah.
Because it's a good question.
Yeah. We'll talk about that further. Okay, next example. I was interrupting you. I'm really like.
Well, this is an important thing. I think is that you have all these avatars in this game, and I think what will happen, you can.
What is this?
This is still the same game.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
But all these avatars, you know, are digital assets that you can actually do stuff with. You were talking about your collection as well, that you have like online, offline, everything is mixed, and you can reuse. I think that's very important for digital items, that you can reuse, repurpose, rechannel even.
Yeah, so you make one digital head, like I'm just trying to also follow you. Repurpose, reuse.
Yeah.
That means you make
you make one asset, and then you can actually apply it into different channels.
Yes.
So,
exactly.
for example, this one, right? It was in the game now, but they obviously also used it for promotional, Instagram posts, etc. But I can also see that in the future you might be able to buy these. And in this case, it would be vintage Balenciaga avatars.
But then you buy a vintage, then you buy like a puppet, a digital puppet. And what the fuck do I do with the digital puppet?
Good question. That's. I mean, there's a few things. Now there's actually, people are buying these kind of things just as NFTs, so just as a digital art piece.
Yeah, NFT, you have to. Does anybody know anything about NFT? No, please.
Yeah, you have to actually, if you're in digital fashion.
Yeah.
Okay, please say that shortly, because it's very important, the NFTs.
Exactly. It's non-fungible token, and what it is, it's a digital contract actually, which you can see it. I've seen it described as an envelope. So an envelope is the number, and in this envelope you can put your asset. So it's a digital asset, and you can also put a little contract in there which states whatever you want it to state. One thing that's really important and really good for creators is that you can say, okay, every time somebody sells this asset, I get money too. You know, that's something that doesn't happen now. So
that's very
super
interesting because this is what we're all complaining about, right?
Yeah.
You give your shit to Spotify, and Spotify makes money off of it.
Yeah.
But when you have this NFT, every time it's being sold, if I understand correctly, you can also profit from that.
Yeah.
So that is a way that you can sell
that's
a digital asset.
Yeah, an option. Let me just flick through the few examples.
Yeah, do you have an example of how that
here's
works?
One from The Fabricant, which are obviously colleagues of yours. And they're selling just this as a digital asset, like a nice animation, and this is for sale, and people are collecting this. So this is interesting. And it's not only these digital people that are in this realm. It's really all new. Everybody's trying it out. But there's even, this was animated, sorry. There's even Mario Testino on there now, and he sold this painting of Kate Moss as a digital asset. Mm-hmm. And that's one other thing that's really funny about digital assets, because people are like, okay, you have it, but other people can still see it, and other people can still download the file.
So it's very democratic in a way.
Yeah, but this one person owns it, you know, that's...
But this is also like a communal way, more of a more communal way of owning it, right?
Yeah, definitely.
We have another.
It's very abstract.
You think it also stays very abstract?
Yeah.
I think Suzanne. Then now it's your turn. It stays very abstract.
No, I think it's definitely quite abstract, but there has to be something done about the fact that you can all share your assets and everybody can have it. And sometimes you want that. So, for example, the Fabricant that you just showed, they make a big topic out of it because everybody can download their garments.
Yeah.
But there is a really big gray area in there, what you can do with it and what you can't. Because if you download their assets and you use it for commercial purpose, that's not allowed. So how far do you go? And for instance, we're also part of this digital fashion website called DressX. I don't know if you guys heard of it.
Yeah.
No, and Marilou also does it.
Yeah.
Do you? No, DressX. What is it? What is it?
Yeah, so Fabricant's on there as well. It's just a fashion website, and a lot of digital designers are on this fashion website. Maybe I don't know if you can,
Yeah, can you
show it.
show
It
it?
would be quite funny, actually.
Yes.
But people can buy a garment for not that big amount of money, and then they will dress your picture up with this garment. So it's actually a way of wearing digital fashion without having to actually buy it or having to have physical clothes.
Yeah.
So in this way, it's a real sustainable way for influencers to actually
So
wear
you-
garments and don't have to send it to their home, and they can just be dressed up with it. And it's really in a pre-version of it. So it's not perfect yet, and you can actually see that it's digital, but I think people embrace that as well because it's interesting and it's new. So
Yeah, well, with a lot of people, the digital identity, of course, is way more prominent and important than maybe the physical
Yeah.
one. So you buy a dress and you wear it and you put it on your Instagram or something,
no, so
right?
you
Oh.
actually send a picture of yourself
Oh, yeah.
wearing nothing or underwear. I hope underwear, probably.
Maybe not, you know.
To the owners, maybe not, would be nice actually. To the owners of the website, and you just buy a garment. So you have big lists with digital garments that you can buy, and I think our garments are around $120, but some
Your
garments
garments?
are,
Yeah,
are
because you
around
also
$10.
sell your garments.
Yeah, so that's the whole interesting thing with the NFTs now, because we're already part of this website.
Oh my God,
So we
can you
gave
show
them-
your garments? Because that is interesting. Or are
Yeah,
we seeing them now? No, this is DressX,
Yeah,
this is how it
Dress
works?
X, and if you go to designers, then Studio P Method or this
That is-
works as well.
But is Instagram the only like output way of showing
Yeah,
what you
good
bought
question.
there? Where can
with
you-
DressX, it actually is, or you have a picture of yourself, so like fashion pictures, you can put it wherever you want, you can put it on your website, but it stays digital. But if you print it, I think there was one example of people in Shanghai, they bought a picture of us and they printed it really big, and it's on their wall now, like 5 meters or something.
Yeah, and this is what you mean with you have one asset, but you can use it maybe for your Insta profile, but also make an artwork of it yourself.
Yeah, but
It's
if,
yours to use.
yeah, I
in
think
any type
it can go quite far, because I think with our studio we definitely don't believe that we should go to only digital fashion, because we think the combination of the digital, integrating the digital and the physical is the important thing, actually really if we want to change the industry. But there is this almost whole new product, new way of art that's coming up, that's digital fashion. And if you buy an asset as in an NFT, you can do whatever you want with it. So you can use it with motion capture in a video, or you can use it in your game, or you can maybe make a digital art show out of it, or you can 3D print it. You can do everything what you want with it. But you can also, like the face filters, make a face filter out of it and then film yourself performing your new song wearing a digital garment without actually having to wear it. So it can go quite far.
Yeah, okay. It is a very interesting realm, which also it has also some other things to say about it, or negative things. I'm also I mean, oh my God, we don't have that much time, but I'm also worrying about privacy and my data and the environment, because it doesn't mean that these things are sustainable.
No.
Can you talk about that
actually,
very shortly?
Yeah, the mining of NFTs. I mean,
The mining of NFTs. The mining of NFTs.
You weren't expecting to talk about this today, were you?
digital fashion,
You weren't
right?
expecting to talk.
Well, I was, but I don't know. NFT I know now, but what is mining?
Mining, and if you think of NFT as a number, and it has to be made by computers, and that costs a lot of energy. It's like a super complicated puzzle, has to be fixed or has to be puzzled, and that costs a lot of energy. So
So that doesn't mean it's always good for the environment.
no.
Because this is how it's presented, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
But but there's a lot of debate about it, and there's also people, fortunately, in the realm that are really busy, getting into renewable NFT space. So, yeah.
Yeah. Joris, I want to go to you because I really like to have
I also had a question.
Oh, you have a question. Okay, go.
Within your design process, when you make those garments, is there still an analog part? Like,
Where's the analog part?
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. So sometimes we still draw on paper, but we found out actually in the process of becoming digital designers, because we were not expecting when we studied fashion that we would become digital designers. I think I mentioned it before to you guys, but I'm not good with digital things, computers and stuff. I don't even know how to turn the screen of my own cell phone. So for me,
either.
Yeah, for me it was quite a big thing going into the digital fashion, and I'm actually a textile designer as well. So I love to screen print and I love tactility.
But what is the analog part? Can you just what is the analog part of your practice?
There is no analog part anymore. There was, and we tried to actually integrate it in there, but we found out that the digital design process is completely different from the physical. So,
but did you need it, like you studied at an art school, at a fashion education, so there was a big part of draping, like being very physical with material. Did you need that knowledge to
yes, definitely. And
do what you do now?
Because I think that's important in our work, and that's why people like our work, because we studied fashion. We're different than other digital designers because we know the feeling of fabric, we know how something is supposed to fall, we love that tactility, and we try to integrate it as much as possible in the digital.
Yeah, that's also interesting, I think, about digital fashion, because the only way we can refer to what we're seeing is because we have felt it or we have touched it.
Yeah, so the starting point is always a garment, right?
Yeah, it's always the real thing that you will refer to in your mind when you think about a digital object. You will always make it real. You will always connect it to something that you have experienced before, I think.
Is that the case?
Yeah, I think it can, but you can also embrace the fact that you can do so much more with the digital. So sometimes we try to make it recognizable for people, and we notice what you say is true. We notice that people have most appealing for the clothes that actually look a bit more like real clothes.
Like
but
something
now
they know.
Yeah, something they know, so they can relate to it, and they think, okay, I know that, I want that one. But I think there is also this whole new movement where people explore so much more possibilities of the digital fashion design, and it sometimes your mind can't even adjust to it yet. So sometimes you think like, okay, but would it be possible to make a dress that turns into a flower, that turns into a horse, that turns into a racing car? Yes, it is. Everything is possible. So more
That's
and more and trying.
The whole notion of what is a dress is completely turned upside down. I just wanted to make, because we were talking before, and I thought you also made a very interesting point in the sense of that, you know, because we could. You remember what point you made about about the process. The process of how garments are made.
Yeah, well, what I try to do in a magazine is also show the practice of the designers. So the designers that Monument is about, I really try to show everything from what the circumstances were under which they were working, because I think if we will understand that and stop looking at the final product, so it's always about a dress. That's also really fascinating, actually, that a dress has become a symbol of all the desires that we have. Everything that we long for in fashion is a dress. That's also really good, I think. But I think what I try to do in the magazine is really show also a lot behind the scenes, because I think when we know that, it will also make us realize how the clothing that we wear, because we still have to wear clothing, because otherwise we'll just get cold. It's also like a basic need. It will also affect the choices that we will make when we buy clothes, because sometimes it sounds, when we talk about digital fashion, like we don't need real clothes anymore. I think that's really, that's not
I think that's
the case.
That's a good point, because in the mean, we talk about digital fashion, all these NFTs, blah, blah, blah. But in the meantime, you try to address the process, what it means to make a garment. And if we don't know much more about that, we cannot also change this cycle, which is still going on, right?
Yeah,
so
and
it
which
can also
is still
be distracting in a way.
Yeah, and it's like 90% of the final thing that we buy, and it's 90% of the time is spent making the concept or choosing fabrics or all those things that happen behind the scenes of a fashion brand or
maybe sometimes we tend to
we just look at that
part.
dress. We just
great point. But then I'm really thinking about this analog. I mean, you are more in the middle, let's say, right? You work really analog. You know about this process. I think you're also very engaged in showing this process by literally showing the backstage of a house, for example. Yeah, I know your work very well.
Before Gucci.
Very good. Okay, so how do you relate to, and also Tessa, of course, to this notion of analog and digital? Maybe we can show a project of you where you can elaborate on that a little bit.
Maybe.
Is that the Exile one, or if you want to show another one?
Exile. The Exit exists.
Okay, Exit exists. I'm sorry.
That's just a recent project that we have been working on. I think, again, going back to what we do as a brand, we're trying to explore different options. And that's so beautiful about the digital realm, where reality sometimes, like reality, budget, space, time, stops. There's a digital part that can take over, or maybe even fill in a part that's normally not reachable for you. This dress that you were talking about, like going from flower, unicorn, race car, I think that's so interesting about this digital aspect. It's this. No, I wanted to say, is it make-believe?
That's
or,
clear, yeah, of course, that's clear. But then it's also like, how do we merge those two, right? And I think you have the most experience with that.
But I think we use it differently because you guys are quite product-focused. And we are more, when it comes to fashion, we're more on storytelling and what products, clothing can tell, rather than being so rigid about just like showcasing a product. So we use the digital realm or digital ways of working also to really add layers of performativity or concepts.
In what project can we see that?
I'm not sure which.
Exit exists. If we go to our Instagram.
Gaan we naar Instagram?
Yeah.
Yeah, we worked on a performance piece, and that was a physical performance piece where we designed the costumes or fashion, however you want to call it, ourselves. And around this performance piece, we created a campaign that was sort of a campaign surrounding the characters and the fashion of these of this piece.
Can we see that?
Yeah, I'm not sure if we can pull up the Maison the Faux Instagram.
Technique, yeah.
Yes, like these kind of, we made with a digital design studio called Ubernerd. We made sort of Sailor Moon inspired transformation videos where you would see this normal person transform into their true form and true identity. So we use this, it's more like, instead of digital products, it's more like digital showcase, performativity, like adding a layer surrounding fashion and really making actual digital fashion. Yeah. That makes sense.
Because this started out of a real garment.
Yeah.
This is something that we created like in a physical world, like we had the fabric, everything was there, it was sewn by an incredible team. And then we made this step to a digital place.
Yes. So it's but so the physical piece exists, and then you put a layer over it, while it makes it multi-purpose. Let's say.
We talked a lot about like the emperor's new clothes. Yeah. Do you actually need to? Does something really need to exist in order to sell the fantasy, and that you really can question, like, are the garments really there? Is the surrounding really there? So all these lines blur. So I think that's like the thing we're looking for when we do stuff like this.
Yes. And what happens to? I mean, I'm still searching a little bit for because this you convinced me this is great. Eh? There's a lot of possibilities. Blah blah blah. There's also a danger at the same time. But I'm still looking for the positionality of these clothes. Like how do they? The value of these clothes are still like, but I feel still that it's quite separate in a way. What about wearables, for instance? Is that a notion of like connecting the digital to the are you interested in some of that?
But that doesn't always need to be part of fashion. I think fashion can take many forms. It can be a product, it can be an experience, it can be a fantasy, and like I think fashion you can give different values to each part of fashion, and you can be very product based and sell a product, we sell
A fantasy.
fantasy
Yeah. Yeah.
experiences, like concepts
movies.
and thoughts by means of fashion.
Yes.
But the actual fashion product is not something we want to sell.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the fantasy.
So what are you selling in terms of the clothes then?
We don't.
Nothing.
Nothing.
No.
No.
And so no
We
one can
stopped.
buy anything.
Yeah, no, everything is possible.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's not the main focus of what we're doing at this point. That's the reason why we said goodbye to
Yes.
making these seasonal collections and going into this whole realm of production and all this stuff. The world is filled with stuff. So I think what we really love about fashion is that it's this sensation, this tactile, sensorial place that you enter. That's also the reason why we buy a product. You don't buy you buy the product because it has a label. You buy a product because it has a story. You buy a product because
It has
it's part of a bigger picture.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And I think we
yeah.
sell a picture, a story.
But that's
But we
how
don't-
also how I feel like the digital parts is now big in fashion, because the fantasy has always been so
Powerful.
important. Yeah, and powerful. It's a powerful language. Exactly, it makes you buy something. But now it
But then-
allows us to go beyond even like your wildest dreams, and that is that's a good place, I think, for fashion. But like you also mentioned, there is still the clothing that you wear, and still the analog part cannot be. It's always there. You
But
can't
so
deny
you
it.
ask basically, where's the process? Where's the materiality? Where's the cotton, the silk, right? Where
Yeah.
does that leave us with? How do we deal with that then,
and
or
like
something?
Joris said, the world is full of stuff. Yeah, that's true. That's also why I like it so much to make a magazine about old clothing. It's 20 years old. I take it out of the boxes, of the shelves of the designers who store these things in their own
Fleur,
houses.
what do you tell your students when you get comments like this?
I think it's and. It's not like this is going to replace the other one. And I think they will transform each other. So also the old clothes will be transformed by what's possible in this digital realm. For example, if you say, so we need to have clothing, but maybe we can choose different types of clothing because now we don't, now we have other means of expressing. If we have face filters, blah, 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 filters, maybe, there will be a time when there's like reality, you have glasses on and it's already here. So maybe we have blank canvases, that are very sustainable, et cetera, and you can...
Yeah, maybe we have like costumes only,
Exactly.
right? And then you wear a Google Glass, and then you see like, oh my God, you're a seahorse.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I think that's
But
really
it both reinforces each other, right?
Sorry? Yeah.
It both reinforces each other because, like in the digital realm, all possibilities are endless, but you'll never get to really experience putting it on or like feeling it on your skin, and that's so I think like it reinforces values of both things, like the digital and the reality of an actual well-made garment.
Yeah,
I think that's beautiful about the two.
Yeah.
Like the
And I hope we won't wear costumes and then that there is...
You won't hope that.
No, I don't
Because
want
it would
that.
be
I
an-
want to wear it. To have it on.
No, but it's also like if you wear a
want to wear
costume and can have a filter on your the Google phone or whatever, or your
But
everything.
that's still a sensation.
Well, a costume, I mean more like a uniform.
Yeah, but it's still that's still something that the person who sees you will experience. But what about the experience of wearing something?
But that's you as a consumer. I can imagine, like, from your styling background, digital fashion.
Not dragging around with suitcases anymore.
That, like,
Just bringing your laptop.
But like, but you're right. The body is also something we should
It's also
consider,
something
right?
for the wearer. It's not something for the people around me. It's also
for you.
Yeah, but I think as a digital design collective, we started because of the problems in the fashion industry as well. So we started because we think exactly what you say, there's already so much in our industry do we want to make more? But we don't see a future perspective where everybody wears collars around their neck and there are no garments anymore, but we have to change the way we produce those garments, the value people have for those garments, and make people and the customers as well aware of the process that's behind it. But by integrating digital in the physical world, I think we can get a much more sustainable fashion industry. And like you say,
how does then the digital create the analog? Like, how does that solve the problems that we have in the analog world?
There is one big commercial project that we did for Burberry, for instance.
Can we show that?
Yeah, and it was completely at the beginning of our career. So we graduated digitally, and we had like a VR experience where you could fit on clothes in your VR world and see if it fits you right. And then in an ideal world, that would be our shopping experience. And then afterwards, it can get produced. So that was our graduation project. And then suddenly Burberry came to us and they said, hey, this digital, that's interesting.
Can we get a technical thingy? Because I don't think the people at home can follow us now. And I can't either because I don't see any images. Yeah. Is that still possible?
I have it on.
Hello? Get off your phones. Well, that's taking a while. Okay, so
Burberry came to us and they say,
there we go.
We want to, I think on our Instagram it's a bit more, there is an animation as well in there, but maybe it's here as well, I don't know. But they wanted to have this TB monogram collection digitally made by us before they would actually produce it in real life. So we got the technical drawings, the real garments were not made yet. We made digital versions, and then this important influencers from Hong Kong, they actually filmed them in motion capture suits. So they are not actually wearing clothes, and then the digital clothes were put on them, and in this way Burberry could test how popular their products would be before they produce it. So they could actually see, hey, that fanny pack, a lot of people liked it on Instagram.
So we're just going to produce that.
Yeah.
So you can only produce on demand.
Yeah, you can actually give people that fashion fantasy without actually having to produce it. And then if you want to take it to the physical world, you can produce it afterwards instead of just producing heaps and heaps of stuff and then only sell half of it. Yeah. So in that way, that's just one of the endless possibilities that integrating digitalizing.
Marilu, are you more convinced?
Oh yes, I totally see the possibilities. But this is all new stuff. This is all.
But in that way, it can shape the analog as well, because you just don't produce bulks, but you produce something that people want.
And to a little bit of more into your fascination, we're working right now on a project with Central Museum Utrecht to actually digitalize their fashion archive. And some of those garments are way too vulnerable to actually wear or expose in a museum. And we're gonna remake them digital, and in this way people can actually see those garments move. Well, normally they're just standing still because they're too vulnerable. Now they can see them move, they can use them in videos again, you can have expositions of them. And that way even fashion from the past can have a new life.
That's great. Well, I see a collaboration here.
Because a lot of things from the designers that are part of Monument are in the museum in Utrecht. So,
cool. Yeah, great. We only have 2 minutes left. So what I want to do, I want to ask a last question to all of you. So you're designer. I don't mean, well, anyway, you're a designer. You're going from art academy. You're graduating. You're like, what the fuck? What do I do, right? This production, this Paris, press, Vogue, diversity, sustainability. What am I doing? Can I just throw myself off a building? So please save these people. What should they do? Where should they start? Fleur, you're a teacher yourself. Yeah, what should they do?
For me, I would say just start anywhere with the digital media. Just try it out because it's only going to get more. So the earlier you're in there, the more experience you have, the better. And even if you think it's a little bit daunting, maybe actual making of it. I think also the programs where you're making stuff will become easier and easier, and everything will be more integrated. So any kind of entry level, just do it.
Just do it.
Try it out.
I think overall less focus on the product and more focus on the practice of designers. So you can also be a fashion designer without making fashion or actual clothing. I think that is very important for young students. Well, just exploring, because there's a lot of possibilities in fashion, but it's way too focused on the dress.
Yes. Fuck the dress.
I think that people overall should take a little bit more time for the process, time to get into the digital, not only having focus like I have to create now. It's almost the same thing as you say, and don't put sustainable fashion designer before you're a fashion designer anymore. Sustainability should be like the core of every fashion brand from now, and it should not be like some kind of gimmicky, innovative thing.
Common. Yeah, you cannot design something without being sustainable, right? Tessa?
I think because you can go so many directions, I mean, I feel like it's so scattered now. I think just take a moment and really think about what fashion really means to you before you start hitting the road. Like, reflect, what does fashion mean to me? I think like in the beginning we got a little bit sometimes carried away in what we thought fashion should be or how we should handle things. Take a moment, think about what the essence is, and then find your way, either digital, analog, old stuff, new stuff, but like find your core before you get overwhelmed, I guess.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. Joris?
Yeah.
What she says.
I think just explore the possibilities.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
that's...
there's more possibilities than ever,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Now, I think
And that's really
everything is shifting,
exciting.
right?
Yeah,
It's really
yeah.
exciting. Okay. Well, if you want to, there's also a lot of projects and a lot of things to talk about that we didn't mention. So I really want to put focus on monumentmagazine.nl, right? .com?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
Monument
.nl.
Magazine.
.nl. Yeah.
.nl. Maison the Faux, check out their website, their projects, .com, right? And Studio PMS, never forget, premenstrual syndrome. I think that's going to be a good one to remember. I'm looking way forward to the future. I'll see you in the next panel. Thank you. Thank you very much. That was nice, right? I learned so much.
A seller.